Thank you so much for turning into Beyond Should. I'm happy to have you here. I'm Lucy Reynolds, your host and the founder of the Murmuration Collective, where we empower women for lasting transformation in all facets of their life, both professionally and personally. And we get it. This is a dynamic and challenging time we're living through. And if you're feeling frustrated or out of control with your current work situation or life in general, and feel like something is just waiting for you just beyond your reach or clarity, then perhaps you might want to consider taking on a coaching engagement with us at the Murmuration Collective. We support women on the daily to wade through their confusion and find what they seek in the next chapters of their personal and professional lives. Our contact details are in the show notes. We look forward to meeting you and hearing what's going on for you. Now let's tune in together to this next episode of Beyond Should. Hi, I'm Lucy Reynolds, and welcome to Beyond Should, a podcast for women reinventing their lives, their careers, and owning their power. This is a show where you'll gain insights on how to stop doing what you should do and finally start naming, claiming, and pursuing what you deeply want. Today on Beyond Should, I have the privilege of welcoming Teri Weinberg, Emmy Award-winning producer, speaker, and writer, former EVP of NBC Entertainment, founder of Yellow Brick Road Productions, and one of the creative forces behind The Office, Ugly Betty, and the Tudors. Welcome to Beyond Should, Teri. Thank you so much for saying yes. I'm extremely grateful, and thank you especially for the gift of time because that is so valuable. Thank you.
It is so my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
This is super fun. Now, Teri and I did have a quick chat before we decided to do this together. And we decided to trust the space that the right things were going to happen and the right conversations were going to happen. But what Teri doesn't know is that I was on a virtual date with her all last weekend, deep diving into anything that I could find online so that I could get to know this woman. And what I stumbled upon was so aligned things, areas where we have approached life, shed so many of the same shoulds, empowering women the same way, and also being completely non-perfect. There's no one way to do this thing called life. So I was on her Instagram, and I don't know if you'll allow me the privilege of doing this, Teri, but there was a post, I think it was on June 27th or 28th, a day before your birthday, that I would love to read aloud, and we can just jump off from that spot. Would you allow me the privilege of doing that?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. This was a day before her birthday, which I think is one of her favorite days. It's before all the chaos of it, and it's almost a birthday present to herself in this post. So it reads, "The woman writing this isn't the same woman who blew out the candles a year ago. She's less interested in being understood by everyone and more interested in understanding herself. She knows momentum beats perfection every single time. And she's learned that the universe has a wicked habit of reminding her how much more she has to do. I've never thought birthdays are about getting older. They're about gathering evidence. Evidence that betting on me compounds. Evidence that courage has excellent timing, even when it arrives dressed like fear. Evidence that every version of me I thought was the one I was really supposed to be is just introducing me to the next one." And then she goes on a little bit. You can check out her Instagram, but she ends this post this way. "Because if this year taught me anything, it's that life I've been dreaming about isn't somewhere out there waiting for me. I've already been living it." Oh, Teri, this was so brilliant. It blew my mind when I read it. I knew I needed to chat with you about it. So I'd love to see if we could open our episode today, having you tell us a little bit about what was the impetus of what was coming forth for you. And then, of course, we will get into all the amazing things. And we will, of course, be talking about your TED Talk, Aging into Power, and how you found your voice. But first, let me understand what prompted this post.
You know, there's this beautiful thing that happens to us as we spend more time on this earth. And it's that wisdom that is bestowed upon us that reminds us that the journey, as it feels short sometimes, is long. And it really just depends on what we do with it. And I've always been so grateful in my life to have the experiences that I've had and also the courage to continue to reinvent myself. And I get up every day, which is insane, and say, how is it that I feel stronger today than I did yesterday? And I think it's because I practice what it means to be in my body and be in my strength and be in the things that make me feel alive and make me feel in purpose and make me feel like I have still so much more to discover and how I spend my time. And, early on in my career, time was not my friend, because especially as a woman, you feel like you have to work overtime just to keep up. You have to over prepare. So you feel like you fit and belong in a room. And so I would go into a 10-minute meeting, preparing a week for it, making sure that there wasn't going to be anything that I missed. And so there was a good chunk of my early career where I didn't own my time. And I don't resent that. It's just a lesson in, okay, that's what I needed to do then. How can I continue to remind myself? And also younger women, as they, start out in a career, that there are ways that you can balance your time and ways that you can put more time into yourself and into your body and not feel like you have to give it all away to prove yourself in your business, to prove yourself in this life, in your relationships. And for me, it's always like coming back home.
Yeah. What have you shed? I mean, granted, we have wisdom on our side, being women in our 50s and 60s. We've gone laps around the sun. We've had careers that have had chapters. But if I were listening to this and I was in my 20s or early or mid 30s, it's very easy to hear us say that. But what is it about time? And I wanted to actually get into this with you right away. And here we are. I often hear, I don't have time to do that. I just don't have enough time. And so what shoulds could we shed as we realign, as we renegotiate, as we become friends with time? What comes up for you?
As tough as this might sound, I think it's an excuse to ignore ourselves. It's an excuse and a fear to go in and think about the things that we feel like we need to focus on and work on. And I think if you can take that fear of investing time in yourself and turning it into a kind of a curiosity about yourself, I mean, we have to be accountable to ourselves.
Absolutely. And you even said that in that post. Who knew that courage was, disguised and dressed up as fear? And we often talk about fear just means that I don't have enough information yet. And so go find that. Yeah.
That's right. And also, it's about surrounding yourself by like-minded humans who are trying to do the same thing, that are aspiring to be a better version of themselves, aspire to better themselves, aspire to learn more about an industry. And I always say you are what you think you are. I also believe you are exactly who you surround yourself by.
Yeah.
So those two things for me are really important. And so I shed I'm not going to please everyone. Mm-hmm. And I shed of course I'm going to have fear, because fear is just like you said, not having the information. So what do I need to do to get the information? I have to work on it. We have to put in the time. We have to put in the work. And it's about being better time managers, being smarter with our time than longer with our time. Because I think in our culture, when I came up in the agency industry, it was always whoever's first in and whoever's out last is the one who is the hardest worker. And that is just an enormous amount of bullshit. I think it's you come in, you have your schedule, you're more effective, you're better at your work. You come in, you do your business, and you go home and you take care of you, or you have dinner with your family, or you go on a date, or you go to your gym, or you go do whatever fills you up so that you can do it all over again.
Right.
So time sits in front of us in a lot of different ways. It's just a matter of how we choose to balance it and look at it.
Choice is such a powerful thing. A lot of people feel like they're at the end of the tail of the whip, right? That things are happening to them. And we work a lot on in our coaching practice to, one, talk through the bullshit of you are actually responsible for creating your best life. So gain the power back. Even if something like right now, I'm in the midst of the most helpless moment in my life with my dad is his health is declining, and every time I try to fix it, it doesn't work, and I'm spiraling out. And then all I have to do is slow down to pause to gain clarity around like what's really going on here. Like I've been checking in on my grief. I've been checking in on like, is the healthcare that he's getting right? I've been checking on what are the things that I can bring into my control, which is actually slowing down. And that is actually, we often refer to it in coaching as I'm stretching time, right? I'm actually allowing there to be more spaciousness so I can see what the real is in the situation. So if you're feeling and you're listening to this podcast right now and you're feeling out of control, what's one or two things that you can do to regain the power and the control, even if it's just the tiniest thing, by removing yourself from the work situation that's stressing you out and going and getting a coffee and grabbing a breath of fresh air to regain your prefrontal cortex?
I also think going back to, your father, the illness,
Yeah.
we don't have the gene necessarily to say, oh, I can handle this. We don't think about we're going to have to take care of our parents, and both of my parents are gone. And so I've dealt with both of them being very ill, both of their passing. And as much as I would like to say I was equipped for that, you want to bring all the skills that you have in your business. I'm tough. I'm a leader. I handle things. I get things done. I'm a doer. I'm a fixer.
Yeah.
There are things in that part of our life that we can't fix. And that's where the control starts to come in.
Right.
You can't snap your fingers and make your parent well.
Right.
But you also have to come to terms with the fact that you are now there to serve their needs. And it's not about us. Part of what you're saying is pulling back and taking a breath. It's also thinking about what's in their best interest and how can we serve that instead of how are we serving ourselves. Because we don't matter in the equation. It's not about us. That's just our ego. Right. It's our parent. Our parent needs us in a different way. And so for me, it was really difficult to manage something that I wanted to run around the hospital and say, you need to do this and you need to do this and I need you in this room, and nobody works on your timetable. And so you have to do whatever you can that's within your power to help the best way you can. And then you also have to resign to the fact that it's not on our timetable.
And we often say sometimes regaining control just means to actually acknowledge not in my control.
That you don't have control.
That I don't have control. And that then
That's
brings
right.
me center and be like, oh, and so now what? Just be in this moment. And like, what do you need, Lucy? What does my dad need? How do I want to spend these precious moments with him?
That's right.
That I will remember, and that I can say I went through it honoring him and honoring how I am. And so that's gaining control back, even though the chaos of it all. So yeah, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I didn't think we were going to go there. So there we are. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I just think it's a really good example of what it means to have something that is so outside of things that you think that you can control. And as much as we try to intellectualize it, every case is different. Every relationship with a parent or someone who is in your life and needs you on a different level, you can take that into your business life. You can take that into your relationships and realize that in business, we can't control everything. We can try and then we'll be an asshole, but part of being a great leader, part of being a professional is listening to the world around you and holding space for it instead of trying to control it.
I really did think a lot about how you talk about The Office. That's such a good example of leadership, right? I mean, how the way that Greg Daniels was and is with everyone, there was no ego and attracts the right people, I believe I heard you say. And I think that kind of is in a parallel conversation to what we're saying with regards to leadership and work, is like really goes back to your conversation around think about who you're surrounding yourself with on the daily in the workplace. And how do you want to show up to meet that moment? And what I learned from you about Greg on bringing that to life, that he attracted the same type of people, and that you all were able to create really dynamic things. Talk to me a little bit about that. Did I get that right when I heard you say that?
Yes, he is someone who is incredibly inclusive.
Mm,
He does not bring ego to the workplace.
mm,
And in my industry, it's very top down.
mhm,
Leadership starts at your showrunner, your creator. It starts with your executives, and
right.
people look for that energy.
Mhm,
They follow that energy. And
mm.
when you're creating an atmosphere, because it's hard to make television. It's funny and it's great to tune in for
Yeah.
25 minutes, but it takes 8 days to
Mm.
get that 20 minutes. And within that 8 days are, 12 hours, 14 hours, however
Mhm.
long it takes to get what you want on that screen.
Right.
And so you're building a family. You're
Mm.
building a creative unit of people who have to show up every single day and bring their expertise, whether it's your director, your writers, your actors, your crew, your makeup, your hair, your executives. Everybody has an incredibly important part of creating a television show. And
Right.
for Greg, he respected every single person
Mm.
that came to work every day to say, thank you for this beautiful food that we just had for lunch.
Right.
Thank you for making sure the payroll got taken care of.
Mhm.
Thank you for everybody being on time. Thank you for spending an extra, 3 hours in the editing room. So it
Mhm.
all started with gratitude and inclusivity, and also creating an atmosphere where people knew that they had potential, that
Yeah.
they knew that they could eventually write a script as a young writer, coming in as this being their first series.
I think that is so, so important right now as you're thinking about your workplace and you as a leader. Because as a leadership coach, like we're often talking about, like, how do you deal with difficult situations and how do you lead the team forward? And there is such a draw. People want to work for people who appreciate you. There's a study, huge study right now. It's around, the best leaders are the ones that are likable, that you want to spend time with, right? The airport test, like, do you want to sit in on a plane next to me for 6 hours when we've been delayed, right? Um, yeah.
And with that, I believe, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for men. I think women make great leaders because we bring empathy and
Amen.
we bring the thing that is most important, I think, in leadership, and that's listening.
Yeah.
And I think everybody wants to be able to come into their workplace and be heard and seen and know that they have a value. And, you know, when we'll use NBC as an example. Periodically, heads of networks will stop in on sets, and
Hmm.
check out production
Right.
or, to show their support. And I can't tell you how many times as a producer, we would all be on the set saying, oh shit, the network's coming today. Oh shit. You guys, so everybody beware, the network's showing up at
Mm,
some point. So everybody, kind of be on their toes.
mm.
When I was the network, people were excited that I was coming to the set because I was excited to come to the set.
Right.
It was the joy of
It's like a
what I
family
got to
reunion.
do. Exactly. And I know what it felt like to be on the other side of that as a producer, to know that when this energy blows in, people
Mhm.
are going to react to that energy. And if you come in with, oh my God, I'm so excited to be here,
Yeah.
everybody else is going to be as excited to be there.
I mean,
You're not
that's why
coming
we
in to
call,
change the world. You're coming in to just say, I appreciate you. You guys are
yes.
doing great work. Goodbye.
And
That's all they want.
that is, I mean, honestly, thank you. This is why I call this part of our business the Murmuration Collective. I mean, literally, it is a energy transfer to other individuals. It really does help to be in person for this energy transfer. And I think we're seeing a shift back to more in person. Yes, we will, or more hybrid, but it is the more you can gather your people as a leader and transfer energy. And that's the same. You're also picking up on their energy. You're walking in, you're being intuitive. Women are very, very strong, intuitive leaders. We listen, we have empathy, and we can raise or lower the vibration of a room in a
Mm,
freaking New York fucking second, right? And we, it's almost one of our superpowers, is to shift the space so
for sure.
profoundly. And so I do love that, learning about, and that creates creativity, right? That allows the prefrontal cortex to have more oxygen and serotonin, so then everybody on the set has more creativity gene.
And it's a dopamine hit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what you all created was so iconic for generations and generations to come to still have. I mean, my kids put it on as therapy in the back of they just are on loop listening to it.
I love them.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
it's just
that's so
like calming. I
wonderful.
swear my son is like, it calms him down. He just sort of listens to it in the back. And it's just really phenomenal what you all created. And I know that you had great writers and you had great executive producers in yourself and Greg Daniels, but I think it was the combination of people that were gathered there. And I think we definitely want to use that as an example around if you're listening and the work situation or environment, or dare I say your family situation and environment is not healthy, then really think about where are the energy sucking people, where are the energy giving people, how can you tweak different things in your life to give you the oxygen that will then allow you to, kind of goes back to time, will allow you to have that ability to take a deep breath when you're torqued up and say, I need to slow down. This life is not happening to me. I want to be in control and responsible for it. And that's what I feel like you are representing for everything that I learned about you on my date with you this weekend. It was a fabulous date. I wish you'd been there. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. That was a lot, but I really appreciate it. Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Beyond Should. I'd love to take a few minutes to tell you a little bit more about the Murmuration Collective, which powers our Beyond Should podcast. You see, we set out to create the Murmuration Collective as a place for women to come together to feel supported in all aspects of their lives, either through one-to-one career and leadership coaching, through day-long salon gatherings that we've created, and through our unique immersive retreats. So let me pause here and tell you a little bit more about our immersive retreats. They range in time from 3 to 5 nights in length and are set in some of the most unique places around the world. We've hosted retreats at the House in the Wild in the Masai Mara in Kenya, in the heart of the French wine country, and our signature immersive is our annual retreat to Trujillo, Spain, in the stunning in Casa de Gracia. Here in the U.S., our primary retreat location is on the shores of Flathead Lake in Montana. We've also hosted in Bend, Oregon, and in Durango, Colorado. These immersive retreats allow small cohorts of women. We range in size from about 6 to 16, depending on the location, and we allow women to escape the craziness of their professional and personal lives, to slow their roll in a beautiful setting and be guided by our coaching curriculum that is grounded in neuroscience, immersed in nature, and where the cohort is surrounded by other women who have your back. Together, we will guide you through a unique and tailored coaching curriculum to help you chart your North Star to your next chapter in life and get you into action to make it come to fruition. You see, every immersive retreat is coupled with 6 accountability virtual coaching calls for you and your cohort, and it's stretched over 6 months right after the retreat, which allows you to bring your next professional or personal chapter to life. So what are you waiting for? Well, I have to offer you our fall retreat will be in Flathead Lake in Montana, September 23rd through the 26th. Registration is open and spots are filling up. If you use the code BeyondShould10, you will receive 10% off your Montana retreat if you book by August 19th. So come alone, as many women do, and you'll leave with lifelong friends. Or grab a friend, a colleague. Heck, bring your whole running crew. I don't care. Perhaps your book club. The more, the merrier. Because designing your next chapter in life is not a solo experience. It's way more fun to do it with other badass women at your side. I'm happy to chat with any of you about these retreats prior to your signing up. If you want to reach out, my contact details are in the show notes. So I hope I see you in Montana in September. And don't forget to check out all that we offer at the Murmuration Collective through our website. Link in the show notes. Listeners, please go and Google her TED Talk. So, Aging into Power. Power is in persistence, presence, and truth. You age into power. Reinvention is not erasing the past, reclaiming the place in the present. It's a continuation, a deeper becoming. Please go and tell your story. Please go light it up is the final line. I had chills. I think I even looked and turned to my seatmate on my flight from Austin to Montana to be like, you got to see this. You got to listen to this. I wanted the flight attendant to be like, we have an announcement. Aging into Power is on the TED Talk channel. You have to go find it. Can you please share with us how you found your voice? Because you were always behind the camera. You were always the business person. But this is a different Teri I'm talking to. This is a new chapter. What's going on here? Tell us about it.
So when I was approached to do this TED Talk, the producer said, the subject is bold and provocative ideas that can change the world.
Okay.
And I said, bold and provocative ideas that can change the world. What do I have in this body that is something that's so bold that I actually have the ego to think it can change the world? And I sat with it for a couple of days, and I realized that I had not shared really personal stories about myself. My career was about sharing other people's stories. It was about elevating their voices. It was about elevating their communities. And that was my work. That was my life's work. And I loved it, and it filled me up. And then I realized, you're at a place in your life where you can actually help other women come out of a shadow or come out of, from behind their desk or wherever it is, and have the courage to tell their story. And I think part of that was people see the end result of my life a lot. They see the success of a television show. They see the hardware, they see the, me in action and motion, but they'd never really seen the in between. They'd never really seen the, she got fired. Yeah. So she could then take another course and start a new chapter in her life. And I really thought it was important for me and also for the outside world in women, whatever age they were, to understand that not only is there, your power is here, but if you let it, it will continue to grow as you spend more time on this earth. Mm-hmm. And we are in such a culture where, you want to get the, the wrinkle cream, here's the best workout. Oh, you have to have, all of a sudden you have, some flab around your stomach. All of those things we are taught that we need to erase. Right. And something that came to me was, this is my life. My skin is my life. You can't see her.
If you're listening to this, she's pointing to the wrinkles on her face.
Yeah. Yes. And there's a, and in the TED Talk, I point to, there's a smile line, around my mouth. And I said, this is the line that, I'm smiling at the people who told me that I wasn't going to make it in this business. Mm-hmm. And it's about accepting ourselves for our life experience and the beauty of having a scar, the beauty of having a line in your face, because that shows us that that's been our roadmap in our life. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of aging into our power, when the world tells us that it's time for us to just sit back and watch, we've had our time, those days are over. Yeah. And I'm 66 years old. I'm one of the strongest people in my workout classes. Yeah. And everybody knows it. That's not my ego. That is just, I do the work. Right. Because it makes me feel good. And so I have learned to honor my body in a way that it's okay to share that it's not perfect, that I have gotten fired from a big job, that I have been vilified in the press, that I have been down on a knee saying, oh God, what am I going to do now? And having been in relationships that were toxic. And that's where the impetus for the TED Talk for me was about talk about my power, but be vulnerable enough to share how I got to it and how I continue to work on it and practice it.
And if I remember correctly in my research with you this weekend, it was a writer's strike, right? You were forced to slow your roll. Mm-hmm. And, yes. Maybe if you hadn't have looked at this as an opportunity,
it would have never happened. It would have never happened. I've thought about it for a long time. I wanted to do a memoir. I wanted to do a practical memoir where I talked about experiences in my career, but then here are some things that you can use as tools if you're navigating whatever industry that you're in. And it had just been lingering out here somewhere. And when I learned, my life partner, we've been together for 25 years, he's a part of the WGA. He said, this is going to be a longer strike. We're going to be out of work for a bit. And I thought, okay, so what am I going to do now? Mm-hmm. And within that, I went to sleep on it. I woke up and I started writing. I'd never written a word in my life. And I just started writing, telling my story. I didn't care how it came out. I dictated, I walked, when I was running and whatever I was doing, I would dictate things that I felt were a part of my growth, part of my lesson. And then it just all sort of came together. And I don't know how I crammed that all into 13 minutes, but
I watched that too. And I actually was noticing TED is such a iconic thing because it is so hard to put all of that in 13 minutes.
And you have to memorize it.
Right. But the word lingering is so powerful because I think a lot of people feel that. And for me, and what my work is about getting the lingering to move front so we can see it. And you didn't waste a good writer strike. We often kind of remind our clients, don't waste a good riff. Don't waste a good layoff, right? And this is, again, going back to control and power. It's like, and you guys, she talks about it, and we're going to talk about negotiating in a minute because it's so good what happened in her layoff from NBC. And I want to talk about negotiating, and don't, negotiate against yourself. But you took control of it and you were like, what do I want to do with this moment? Now, you did grieve for, I think you say 3 days. There was a lot of wailing and crying for 3 days. And then you were like, okay, there we go. Like, now what am I going to do with this? But you didn't waste a good writer strike. Do we have to wait for a crisis moment to actually gain that time? And this is what we're trying to encourage women to do with our retreats, is to why couldn't we take 3 days off? The world is not going to crumble, but you will actually, one woman described it as like, nobody told me this was going to be life changing, but just even if you can't come on our retreat, what are you going to do with one day where you just do nothing but let your mind wander and see if the linger doesn't come in front of you? And actually, it's quite magical what you might be able to do with it, but you actually haven't slowed down enough to let her drift to the forefront.
It's really simple. It's our ego. It just starts with the ego. And I think as soon as you can put the ego aside and realize that we're all the same, we're all trying to do pretty much the same thing. We want to live a good life. We want to be happy. We want to be in love. We want to have a good job. We want to feel good in our skin. And it's hard. Every day we're confronted by things that are negative, or we're confronted by things that are challenging. And we hate change. We hate change. And most of the time, we make changes when they're forced on us. And I think part of this learning process is forcing change on ourselves, having the courage and being brave enough to say, listen, I have been in this job. I've been miserable for X amount of years or X period of time. When am I going to love myself enough to say enough? And I'm going to go do something that makes me feel good when I get up in the morning and I go to my workplace, or I go to my home office, or however it is that you are in your workplace now. And you're going to have enough respect for yourself and the bravery to say, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. This doesn't feel good for me. It's not good for my nervous system. It's not good for my family. It's not good for my relationships. And most of all, it's just, I am not excited to get up every day and go to that work. And we deserve that, and so we have to think about it in a different context.
One of my clients once said to me, it's better to dance with the devil that I know than the one that I don't. And I sort of got colluded with her, and I was like, oh yeah, well, and then I paused. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It's the fucking devil, right? I mean, nothing's worse than the devil. So trust in self, right? And it's almost to the point where you become so fed up with yourself. Like, why do we actually have to get to actually full blown fed upness. Like, why can't we start to, and we talk a lot about body wisdom. It's like when you actually start to stay in bed too long, when you feel yourself irritable, annoyed, frustrated, angry, and that's not your usual vibe, that's your body's way of like, hey, sister,
Listen to me. I feel like shit. Listen to me.
yes, yes. And so let's, this is, I guess, what you and I both want for the women that because we want to play with you guys, right? We want you guys out there doing really amazing things. And with the world as it is, we have a big moment coming up in our country. And if you're listening to this internationally, your country is just as probably maybe not quite as messed up as ours, but pretty messed up. Like, what do we want to do about it? Let's take control and like invest in and be a part of the things that matter to us. And how do we want to show up that honors our value set, our integrity, and not be afraid. Not be afraid to step in it. It might not be fun all the time, but if you're doing it with the right cohort of people, it's going to be so much fun. You talk about fun. Tell us about what it's like to be in flow and fun. What does that do creatively?
I mean, it just opens the floodgates. I mean, when
Yes.
you're having a good time being creative and feeling just so fulfilled, and knowing that the result of the work is going to make people laugh and cry and move them and
Mm,
give them another family that they can feel a part of,
mm,
it's a beautiful thing, because
mm.
for me, when we think about our world and how fractured it is,
Yeah.
and how we have been just utterly torn apart,
Yeah.
I feel like music and
Mm,
sports and
mm,
television families bring people together.
mm,
And I think
mhm,
if I can have an impression on my world is, what can I do to bring a family together? What can I do to bring friends together? What can I do to keep people entertained and
mm,
enjoy or escape or do the
mhm,
things that we need right now? People want escapism.
mm.
That's why they love reality shows.
Right.
They want to just invest in another family and let's see what they're going through,
Right.
and make fun of it or make fun with them. And I think at the end of the day, whatever we do, whether you as a life coach and creating these amazing cohorts, when women come together and think, okay, so we're going on retreat and I'm going to have to work on myself. What does that mean? I have
Mhm.
no idea what that means. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and I almost reframe that as like, I get to work on myself. We have to work on him or we have to work on her or our kids. Like, could somebody please work on me? Right? And
That's
I
right.
get
You're
to.
making space for you.
Mm.
And it feels good to be able to sit with
It's
yourself and go, oh, I've been doing that for this long. What the fuck?
yeah.
No.
And it's so amazing when women get either here to Montana or in Spain or Kenya or France, so all the different places we've done it in Colorado. It's the first 3 hours that you can just see everybody sort of like looking around and I have to say, we attract really vivacious, fun women. And even if you're not in a crazy fun space in your life because maybe something's happened, that's okay. Come because these women they'll infectiously like buoy you up, but everybody's sort of looking at each other. And then one person is vulnerable with like, you know what? I've always wanted to do boom. And like the whole energy shifts. And it is like my colleague Katie and I, we just look in the space and we're like, look, we're like, here we fucking go. And it
Yeah.
is
So
so great because we as women, it's like we pick each other up. It's this collective uplift of murmuration that we lift each other up together. And then, of course, we have ebbs and flows throughout the week that we're together, or the 3 days. But that is the power of the collective, right? That
that's right.
is the power of women supporting women. It's incredible. It's incredible, and that is play, right? And I think the more we age, we start playing as teenagers and children, right? And somewhere along the lines, we forget to play. And I feel like more play is coming back into my life as I age, or I'm wanting more play. People are yearning. One of the questions we ask on retreat is, what's something that you miss from your childhood? And you can see every person just drop their shoulders. And it's like this, like, Oh,
One of the favorite things that I have, because I love to play, I play all the time. I mean, I garden, I do all the things that is just a way for me to just decompress, but I make jewelry, I bead, I do things that I can just sit and have fun and create for me or for friends. I make gifts for my friends for their birthdays. Instead of going out and shopping, they know that they're getting something from me that's personal that I made with my hands, and there's just something about that idea of getting adult women together and saying, okay, so today we're going to bead, we're going to make jewelry, we're going to do some pottery, we're going to do these other things that we don't get or take the time to do.
right.
And you realize, oh, you've got a bunch of grown women sitting around a table doing fucking pottery and loving it.
Yep.
And so play is really, really important, and fun in our lives is super important. And I live by that.
We know the neuroscience around play or movement, we would say, is that you never get your best idea like sitting in front of this flat screen or like, oh, I'm going to figure this out and sit there and like, it's in movement, it's in play. And so we get our clients. Sometimes I'll say to my client, I want you to go out and do this thing. And I want you to record it on your phone while you're walking and then send it back to me. And they're always like, we also have to say, you have to trust our process. We're going to do some things that are a little like, woo woo, but we know what happens when you turn your mind off. Everybody will say, we'll ask, where did you get your best idea? And they're like, in the shower, driving. It's because you're multitasking, you're thinking about things, and your brain is like processing different things, and boom, the idea will come to you. And so in play, in movement, if you feel stuck and you're listening to this, go out for a walk in nature. I mean, I tell you what, she's going to give you what you need if you allow yourself to open and be playful with it.
You have to. I mean, I surf. And so that for me is just the most beautiful outlet, especially because I have a community of girls and women who surf also. So our dates are on our boards. We meet at a pier, we go out and we sit on our boards and talk about life. And you're out in the middle of the water saying, wait, when did I ever think that I'm going to be sitting on a surfboard and having a conversation about God knows what out in the middle of the ocean? And you look around and say, this is my life.
This is so
you create those opportunities. You have to create those opportunities of play. And that's where I think some of my best relationships have been made, is when I'm out there maybe trying something new or being adventurous, or, hey, you guys want to go for a walk on the beach? You never know what's going to come up. Women especially have to understand that rest time is work. That's part of the work. And rest is productive. Yeah. Rest is productivity. Because if we give ourselves time to rest and breathe and be in our breath, things can come up and out that are stuck and stay somewhere buried because we're either too afraid to confront it, or we are not taking time to listen to it. Or maybe there's just something saying, God, I wish I could, just like you, when you talk about your shoulds.
Yeah.
I should have learned how to do that. Oh, I should go and meet my friend and have lunch. So fucking go do it.
Or don't.
Or don't.
Because to me, we often say should is somebody else's value. So if you actually I do love to remind people that whenever we say the word should, our nose wrinkles up, and usually it's like we've just smelled a fart. Sorry, everybody, but that's what, everybody's face looks like. And instead, you know what? I mean, check in with yourself and be like, do I really want to go out to lunch with her? No, she sucks the energy out of me. So what do I replace the should with want tos and get tos? Right? What do I want to do? Who do I want to go out to lunch with? And what have I been wanting to try, but I've never had the time? Thank you for listening to another episode of Beyond Should, just one of the many ways we are working to support women from all walks of life. And we know personally, and from what our clients are sharing with us on the daily, that this is a dynamic and challenging time we are living through. And if you are feeling frustrated or out of control with your current work, situation or life in general and feel like something is just waiting for you, just beyond your reach or clarity, but you can't put your finger on what it is, then perhaps you might consider taking on a coaching engagement with us at the Murmuration Collective. We are professionally trained and certified leadership, career, and life coaches. We support women like you to wade through the confusion and find what they are truly seeking in the next chapters of their personal and professional lives. Our contact details are in the show notes. We look forward to meeting you, hearing your story, and seeing how we might be able to support you further. Be well. Teri Weinberg started surfing in what age were you?
I was 56 when I learned how to surf. I was 55 when I did my first triathlon.
I went to my first surf camp this year for my first time, 54. I must say I did. I made my husband go with me. We went to surf camp in Costa Rica. That was our trip this year. And it was work, but actually I was nervous. I put myself into an uncomfortable position. I have the rashes on my elbows still and my knees from my surfboard, but I overcame something. Whether or not we're going to keep surfing, I mean, I live in Montana, so probably I do surf behind a boat, but it's quite different. But I do think that this goes back to your TED talk around the power of aging, is like to keep trying new things, to unlock our youthfulness in our older age, right? I mean, like age is not, it's just a number, right? And it's like, how do we want to feel in it? So it was really quite fun and playful for us. We would laugh at the end of the day, like, oh my God, we sucked. And it was so fun. Then they would film us, y'all. That was the most humiliating thing. We had to sit with our coach and have him like debrief it. The most gorgeous Costa Rican man I've ever seen. And then I'm in my wetsuit on the film, on the TV. I'm like, oh my God, this is so humiliating, but it was so fun at the same time. So I encourage you all to like do something different, shake it up a bit, break the patterns. And I think you might see a knock-on effect. It will actually have little ripples in your life. Teri and I were talking beforehand, like some women are like, if I come on your retreat, am I going to leave my husband? I'm like, well, I mean, no. And I don't want you to come and leave your husband unless you need to, and we can explore that. But more importantly, it's just fine tuning the one or two little areas in your life that maybe you're giving too much energy to, that you actually want to give some energy to your friends and family or to your physical health. And just those little like tweaking the vibrations, like tuning the radio of your life, you get to do. It goes back to control.
I mean, I'm all in because that's just the kind of work that I do. And I think that a lot of women miss out on an opportunity to get to know themselves better, because we're in a world where we're just kind of functioning. Sometimes we're just existing, trying to make it from, one day to the next. And it's a really beautiful thing when you can become your own best friend. It's a beautiful thing when you can understand that, you watching your film when you're on a surfboard, I would have been screaming and applauding for you because I know how
and everybody
hard it is.
It was so great, like, right? And it was multi-generational. Yeah.
And it's really scary. It's not an easy sport, which is why people do it their whole lives if they're trying to become a professional, because it's really, really fucking hard. And so trying things that feel like they are so outside of a zone for you, and knowing that you had the courage to try something new, whether it was getting on a surfboard or spending 3 days at your retreat thinking about the things that you want to improve in your life or things that you want to focus on. It's just a gift, and it's essential to do that.
Yeah. I thank you for that. I think that essential is such a good word, right? We coach a lot around the art of essentialism. Greg McGowan has a great book, and what is needed now. And that's, I think, the pause to gain clarity for our clients is like, what is needed now? And it's maybe different than it was 3 years ago. Right. And because I'm a different woman, I'm now, fully in menopause. My kids, I say I'm a bird launcher, not an empty nester, because I think it makes it sound a lot more successful.
Sure
but
does.
It's different. I don't have to do the things that I used to do. So what is essential to my body now and the way that I want to vibrate in the world?
And also you have time opened up for you, and you've earned this, being a mother and being a a woman of stature. It's a badge of honor, and go use it. Who told us that life stops at any particular age? I mean, what? I don't think about, if there's something that is very outside of the physicality of what I can do, but I'll try anything once.
Right.
You
And if you
know,
don't like it,
you
it's
don't
okay.
you don't do it again.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's just kind of the power of saying yes to things that, scare you, because being afraid or fear is just not knowing the other side of it.
Yeah.
And you never know what you're going to get when you just take that shot. It could be pure and utter joy and something that completely changes
Completely
your life.
unexpected. We have a phrase, we don't love expectations. It kind of leaves everybody flat. It's like, eh. But great expectancy, like how do I want to, what do I hopeful? What am I hoping might happen? It might not happen. And what's the worst thing that could happen? And that's the same way that we approach failure. Like failure is just learning. Which actually brings me to, I think what you could help a lot of our listeners around is how you've already alluded to the fact that how many times do you get laid off in your life?
Twice.
Twice. The way you negotiated your severance package from NBC, I would love for you to talk about that, because I think a lot of times with especially women, we're either told we didn't get the promotion, or we're not going to get the raise, or we're part of a riff, or but we think then that the conversation is over. And it doesn't have to be over, or at least you might want to try and figure out if the conversation is really over. Can you tell us a story about how that went and played out?
Sure. I'm a negotiator. I mean, that's my living. I negotiate every day for other people. I negotiate deals. I negotiate, rights to books and things. I'm just always there's a big deal making process in the entertainment business.
Love it.
And so I have been conditioned to get a yes. As a producer, you are in the business of yes. And so part of that is strategy. Part of that is knowledge. Part of that is doing the research to be and get creative on how to get to an end result that might not be a straight line. Getting to an end result in an unexpected way, and also surrounding yourself by a really brilliant lawyer, which I have. But he has always encouraged me to get creative about, well, if we can't go at it this way, or if you're not going to get to that financial number that you want, then you build in that bonus. If you're not getting to that financial number this year, what do we need to do to get to a structure to get you to that number where you feel that you have earned and deserved? In my industry, we have quotes. Okay. And so once you've made X amount of money, you use that in your next negotiation. But in the NBC situation, it was, I was negotiating out of being an executive and going back into producing. And when I got fired, I thought, okay, what does my life look like now? What do I love more than anything? I love producing. I missed producing when I was the head of a network. It's the least creative job that you can have in our industry, because it's just all about running the business of a network. It's not actually running the creative part of the industry. You have teams of people that do that. And so now I have the understanding of what goes on inside a broadcast network. So I came in already having been an agent, making deals as an agent. Right. I was a producer for 5 years. So I was negotiating deals against my network. And now with my network, understanding how a network negotiates with a producer. So I took all that knowledge and I said, okay, how am I going to make this work for me? And so part of it was, I know that I'm a part of a fallout. I know that I was good at this job. I know that I am deserving, and I did a lot of good things at this network. And what I want an independent production company. I want to have a deal with NBC. I want it to be for 3 years. I want it to be non-exclusive. And I want it to be worth X amount of money, because I knew that if I could get at this number that I was looking at, that after those 3 years, or if this deal didn't work out the way I wanted it to, that I could fund my own production company.
Yes,
So I
ma'am.
looked at that negotiating number and said, what do I need to keep my business alive
Mm-hmm.
while I'm a producer with an NBC deal? And if
Mm.
that deal doesn't get renegotiated after 3 years, I want to have a nest egg to where I can continue doing that.
Yes.
That was in 2013.
Okay.
We're
Amazing.
13 years from there.
And look at her now. Look at her now. I love,
So
nothing to lose is a quote I've heard you say before. There's nothing to lose, right?
what is the absolute worst case scenario you ask yourself? If you go into your boss's office and you say, I am ready for a promotion, I am ready for a raise, you go in there having done the work and say, here's why I deserve this. I've been here for X period of time. These are the things that I have accomplished. These are the things that I am aspiring to do. I am a better leader. I know that I can lead this team. So I'm coming to you, asking you, telling you that I am prepared for this position, and here's what it's worth.
Right.
What is the absolute worst case scenario that happens in that room? You don't get the promotion, you don't get the raise, or you get fired. And if those three things happen, you take yourself somewhere else and get it. You want to work with and for people who see and appreciate and pay you for your value.
And they may not have seen it, but now all of a sudden you've found your voice, which comes back to kind of what you've been talking about is like, you've earned your voice. I think that's a saying you've said. You didn't say you found it. You fucking
I
earned it, right?
Yeah.
And so we have earned the ability, the reps around that corporate setting, you have the information, you believe in yourself. You're betting on yourself. And
right.
so they might not have actually seen you in a certain light, and they need to be told. I think a lot of times we wait as women to be promoted. And I think actually the younger generation now, and I think as you know, the women that came before us have actually helped us say, like, ask for what you need. Right. And so this is just
That's
a
right.
reminder. If you are sitting there being like, I didn't get that promotion, did you ask for it? Did you raise your hand? Did you say, if not, why not? So I think that this is, what I love is how you negotiated that back to actually what you actually loved doing, which was creating. And sometimes we elevate ourselves so much into a position that actually sucks the joy out of us. We're no longer doing the thing that we love because we went up the ladder. And a lot of times leadership, takes you away from your craft. So it's okay to not reach a certain rung on a ladder, but actually maybe to go laterally, and find out and stay within the realms of what lights you up. What is your passion? What are you good at? And not have a hierarchical system tell you, well, you need to now be promoted to this. It's like, no, I'm really, really good where I am. And I think you should pay me for that because nobody does it as well as I do.
That's right.
So I really loved the way you had framed that negotiation. It was really powerful.
Yeah. And also for me, people have said, would you trade that? Would you, if this happened again,
Sure.
would you go back and do that? And I thought, yes, of course I would, because it's just part of the fabric of my life. It gave me a skill set that most female producers don't have. Most producers in my industry don't have at all. But I've been an agent, a producer, I've run a broadcast network. And so I've seen three very valuable sides of the industry. And I'm also an independent, owner of a company. And so I can look at an industry very holistically now. And now I can give back to my industry, or I can give back to other professional women and say, yes, you can. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You only can't if you think you can. Because the question that I get more than anything is, how did you get there? I don't fucking know. I worked my ass off. Right. That's what I did.
Well, you trusted yourself and you navigated every twist and turn. Right. When you and I first met, you said, I don't believe in the word permission. I feel like it should disappear from our vocabulary as women. You guys, she's hiding herself. And it because I say it all the time, like, give yourself permission. And you said it so boldly, and it was a snap. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, wow. So can you talk to us about that, please? I really want to unpack this a little bit.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are very difficult for me to intellectualize. One is permission, and another is imposter syndrome.
Okay.
And those two things just do not align in my body.
can believe it.
I don't know how else to say it. And
Y'all just need to watch her TED Talk and you'll see it in action.
When I think about the only two people in my life that I would ask permission from are my parents. And it stops there.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to live in a place in our bodies. I call it our infrastructure. We have to constantly be building our infrastructure, whether it's our heart, our bones, our guts, our brains, because just like a house, the foundation, if we have a rocky foundation, the house is going to fall.
Right.
And for me, it's, why would I ask anyone else in this lifetime permission for something that I trust and feel in my bones is right for me?
Trust and feel.
It's all about trust in yourself. And if you want to call it giving yourself permission, that's okay. But I also look at it as like, I trust myself that by the time I'm going to make the decision to do the thing, I've thought about it, I've sat in it, I've breathed it, I've learned about it, I've researched it, I've practiced it. And I know that if I take that step forward, that it's right for me. Now, that doesn't mean that everything that I do is, I'm fucking perfect and everything lands the way it's supposed to.
And then you learn. Yeah.
But I don't even look at them as mistakes. I look at them as just part of my life experience of, oh, okay, so I really wanted to do that. That didn't go exactly how I planned. So what do I need to do next time if I'm going to go back there?
Love it.
I need to be more prepared. I need to do more work, or it just didn't feel good for me. So yeah, I try. I'm happy to say I tried it. Now I'm going to go do something else.
So if we were to shed permission and replace it with a word, what would you replace it with? I heard it. I want to see if you say it. I'm not sure.
Trust. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself. Because if you don't trust yourself, ladies, nobody else is going to trust you. And it's all about what starts here. And, we can't be leaders. We can't be best friends. We can't be partners. We can't be sisters without knowing that whoever's in our life or whoever's on our team or whoever's a part of our company or our partners, if they don't think we trust ourselves, why do they want to spend why would they be in our sphere?
Right.
And just because you trust yourself doesn't mean that you're not going to make mistakes or fail, if you want to call it failure. But it's about, as we do something, it's that Malcolm Gladwell thing, doing it for 10,000 hours. I'm not kidding. You got to do something for a lot of fucking hours to be great at it.
And if you feel like you don't trust yourself, like that's the work. Like hire a coach, get your therapist, surround yourself with women or people that will remind you that you have what you need at any given moment to handle. You just need to regain it. You need to reacquaint yourself with yourself. You need to, like you said earlier, become your best friend. Learn about her again. And what does she
Something
need?
just came into my brain thinking about trusting ourselves and who we surround ourselves by and how we feed ourselves. Two things. One, I was grocery shopping the other morning at Trader Joe's, and this beautiful 20-something girl is packing my groceries. And we're just doing small talk. And as she puts everything in my bag, she said, "I can tell you love yourself." And I said, "I'm sorry." She goes, "I can tell that you love yourself by the food that you put in your body." Nobody in my life has ever said that to me, and I literally almost fell to my knees. I can tell that you love yourself the way you feel your body. And I thought, wow, that is really, really something to think about, because it's an important part of who we are and what we do. And part of that is just, again, going back to the really basic idea of surrounding ourselves by good, powerful, optimistic, inspirational information. Don't let social media take you down a path that is just not healthy. And it's really easy to do. I've done it. the algorithm follows us. And it's just really important that you remind yourself that real life is different. It's really easy for a yoga instructor, to get on Instagram and fucking, do a gigantic split and do the things that you might not be able to do. Mm-hmm. Or someone who is, trying to, is encouraging you to eat a certain way or do things a certain way. We're all different.
Yeah.
I encourage women to be themselves. I want to be uniquely. And I just want to be an example of what's good for me, mm-hmm. and hoping that inspires someone else to do what's good for them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the key. So we have to watch social media really carefully. Going back to surrounding ourselves by people who, support us and that are trying to do a lot of the same things that we're doing. And mm-hmm. also loving yourself. You have to love yourself. Yeah. You have to. There's no ego about that. There's nothing that's false about that.
I am loving this. Is the ego, the I, it's everything can only be possible. So if I am healthy and confident and trusting myself, and then it will permeate out. And then, like we talked about earlier, it will come back to us, just like Greg Daniels. Like, he was able to attract the same and the right people to be able to produce and create The Office. And you were one of those magical people that, and people talk about it. And the women on the set talk about you as the only female executive. You championed those women, and they haven't forgotten, because I also went down the rabbit hole of The Office Ladies. Is it The Office Ladies?
Yeah.
I went deep this weekend.
Oh boy.
And there was such, you guys, if you haven't listened to that podcast, it's so great. It's, who is it?
It's Angela Kinsey and Jenna Fisher. It's really an amazing podcast to listen to, because it's not just about all things The Office, but it's all things about female empowerment. They've been doing the podcast for 6 years. They've created a different kind of independent wealth by doing that podcast.
Right, because what I learned on that podcast is that they were not profit participants, and neither were you. And that fucking blew my mind. I had to kind of calm my my vibrations.
Yeah, your nervous system.
Mm-hmm. I was so aghast at that.
Yeah.
And I was just so in love with the three of you all chatting. And so yeah, you guys check out Office Ladies, Angela and Jenna. They played Angela and Pam on The Office, and they have a mentor, guide, friend in Teri Weinberg, and it was a really beautiful love fest. And you have such mutual
and
respect
it shows
for them.
you the longevity of relationships and friendships when you show
20
up
years
for
ago,
each
right?
other.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Yeah. I promised you that I would hold my time tight. I am 2 minutes over. I thank you so much.
By the way, we could be doing this all day, because
I know.
Talking to you.
I mean, maybe we can plan something fun together.
Maybe we should actually have a real date where I'm on it.
Exactly. And that'd be less creepy.
But listen, I just have to say to you that when you reached out, I mean, I love what you do, and it takes a certain kind of human and woman, especially, who cares about other women and is trying to help them get to the best version of themselves. And it's not easy to be a coach. It's not easy to step outside yourself and try to help someone get to that place. And so I have great admiration for you and what you do. And I think it's really important. It's really, really important work. And that's why I think women now are stronger, because they have communities of women that are being built by people like you and by me, and because we give a shit about women. And so
maybe we're going to have to do a retreat together. It sounds like it's going to be a good
Don't threaten me with a retreat.
Oh, it was thrown out in jest and playfulness, but had a whole lot of fuck yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. You're a wonderful wise. And I feel like I just was given a great gift. So thank you very much. And I think our listeners will feel that way too. So thanks, Teri. Take care.
It's so my pleasure.
Wow, what a powerful conversation we just had with Teri. Okay, so here are some of my top tips, takeaways from this conversation. I think it's so important that she emphasized being wholly and unapologetically yourself when it comes to pursuing your goals, be it in your personal life or in your professional life. I also appreciated the reframe that for Teri, it's a given, not permission, just a way of being for her to never wait for validation from an outside source. And she reminded us today that there is never, and I mean never, an age limit when it comes to reinvention or choosing new pursuits. Finally, she encourages all of us to lead ourselves with trust and boldness. So that's what I have for you today, dear listeners. I hope you found it as valuable and inspiring as I did. Thank you, Teri, for such a brilliant hour. I really appreciate it, and I really cannot wait for our next hang. All the best, everybody. Take care. Bye. Beyond Should is creatively supported by a team of dynamic women. Thank you to our executive producer, Lauren Lagrasso, our producer, Daniela Silva, our marketing manager, Esty McInnes, and our TMC curriculum design director, Katie Craig. Without these women, we would not be able to bring you this dynamic content. Thank you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Beyond Should, just one of the many ways we are working to support women from all walks of life. And we know personally, and from what our clients are sharing with us on the daily, that this is a dynamic and challenging time we are living through. And if you are feeling frustrated or out of control with your current work situation or life in general, and feel like something is just waiting for you, just beyond your reach or clarity, but you can't put your finger on what it is, then perhaps you might consider taking on a coaching engagement with us at the Murmuration Collective. We are professionally trained and certified leadership, career, and life coaches. We support women like you to wade through the confusion and find what they are truly seeking in the next chapters of their personal and professional lives. Our contact details are in the show notes. We look forward to meeting you, hearing your story, and seeing how we might be able to support you further. Be well.